Hello everybody and welcome to round 2 of the RCI GT3 Sprint Championship here at Imola, 2:57 AM in the qualifying, on the clock at the moment. I'm Austin Devonshire, and joining me in the booth on your cameras and co-comming is Jesse Lee. Jesse, last week Kyle Army, absolutely mental. What are we expecting this week?
Hello, Austin. Hello, everybody at home. I'm expecting the exact same here, Austin. And we have no reason to believe that today's race is going to be any different. The wild card, as always, are these Ford Mustangs, new to ACC. How are they going to perform? They did a heck of a job at Kyalami 1 week ago, but this is, again, uncharted territory. Talked to a lot of drivers leading up to us going live here tonight. Not a lot of confidence from anybody. Every manufacturer seemed to have something that they were complaining about. General complaint about the track temperature is a problem, as well as it is quite cold. It's a wild card race for sure.
Yeah, no, that I mean, last week we saw a double Mustang victory taken in the second to last corner by Jordan Daly with the double win. Two races tonight there are two sprint races in the format that we have. Jordan Daly, I'm not actually seeing on the leaderboard right now. So, yeah, interesting. But Jesse, do we have a drop round for this championship?
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I'm not even sure how that would work. I don't know if that would be a drop round for any particular race for a round, or it would drop both races of a round. We'll try to look that up and get that information to you before the end of the broadcast today, because last week it didn't matter. Now it starts to matter. If you had a bad round one at Kyalami, you cannot afford to have that occur now. And even if there is a drop round, you don't want to have to be using that this early in the season.
And you know, a name that I am seeing on the score sheet there, Jesse, is Badowski. And Badowski was the one who got second place in both races last week. So, again, very, very tight. Actually made a mistake going into the second to last corner on the last lap of the final race, and actually pretty much handed the victory to Jordan Daly with that alone. Nicole Fox, provisional P4, but leading the silver class by a metric mile. And I mean, looking at the score sheet, it's a similar story to last week. Ferraris and Fords dominating the top three.
That's true. We did have a lot of Ferraris and Fords up there. It got a little bit more mixed up as the races went on, and I know what you're thinking. Well, yeah, of course there was a massive crash. There wasn't one in race number 2, and it still got that nice, delicate balance of mix of manufacturers up near the front of the field. And don't forget, that last lap pass blew our minds. Could we be in store with stuff like that here today? I will say, I have called a lot of races at Imola here on ACC. I've actually seen 2 last lap passes here, both due to tire wear. Will that come into play with the cold temperatures tonight? We'll have to find out.
I mean, we were talking a little bit before the stream and looking at the Nicole Fox, it'll be provisional P4 right now, actually the leading McLaren. But speaking of the McLaren, not so great on the curbs around here, and that's something some of the drivers have been talking about. Giamanto about to cross the line, currently provisional P12, but what will they come out at across the line? That is an improvement up to P8, so top 10 for the 222 Mustang. But again, like last week, the first 13, 14 cars are all within a second of each other, so little improvements can make a massive difference here. The 621 Porsche Jake Halding coming across the start line with a tow from one of the Mustangs there, and that's up to P14 as well. So again, just outside of just being within a second of the pole sitter.
Yeah, that tow was interesting for Howling there. It helped him not lose as much time, but he actually still, in that Porsche, lost time on the straight. That's a common issue with that particular car around a lot of tracks, is it has excellent turn-in ability and braking in instances, but it lacks in straight line speed, and even in the tow, directly so, of a car right behind them, they struggled to maintain the gap. They came off the final corner a full 2/10 up. They lost a couple 100ths by the time they got to the line, despite how close they were. That's the plight of the Porsche drivers today.
very quick in Very quick at the corner, but not so great in a straight line. Badowski coming along the fast to the last corner now. So I was just struggling to speak a little bit, but that's when the McLaren's going just a bit wide there. I think that was Texera in the 720, number 720 McLaren. Badowski coming across the line now. What will that bring them at? That's still P3, 2.24 per second behind Dorber. Malta's crossed the line, Quizma's crossed the line, Robertson, Turner crossed the line. Again, there's still cars to cross the line, so these positions aren't finalised just yet. Dorber's still the pit, so currently provisional ball setter. Velasquez as well, not in the pits. Ted Edwards about to come down to the final sector as well now.
Qualifying just about over. Matthew Malcolm's joined us in chat to commiserate his qualifying, said that he had more than 7/10 in the bank, and apparently the lap did not come off. So that's going to bury Malcolm in the field 21st, according to our timing and scoring, in the 199. Everybody else continuing to try and pick up. Ted Edwards is going to pick up massively, and he does. He goes from outside the top 10 and 12 to P4, second row of the grid, a 141.002.
Yeah, I mean, again, pretty mixed up grid, same as what we saw last time. But Ted Edwards coming in in P4 had not a great race last race from what I remember. So definitely all to play for Ted. Looking at the sectors, Velasquez fastest first sector and third sector, but Dorber taking fastest second sector as well. So little in it and so much to play for, and again, it makes the race so much more interesting.
It really does. Joe Dauber on pole position and the number 777, lucky sevens, that Ferrari. And it will be Luca Velasquez in P2, just 37/100ths off of that. Very close race that typically bodes well for the races. Keep in mind, 2 races here in round number 2 at Imola, 2 30-minute races. Qualifying sets the field for both of them. Badowski, Edwards, Fox, all the way up there. Did get a challenge from Ollie Mulder, though, late in that session in the silver class. Ben Reese in between them. Raphael Hill, Shipston, John Dalton, your top 10. Hey, we know that guy.
We do. That's a very familiar name. Where does that come from?
John Dalton racing in the race today, and I'm not going to spoil his plans, but he shared with me earlier today that he'd been asked to race for a very prestigious team that we know very well here at RCI in an upcoming race and/or series. So that's really cool. John returning to racing and parking it inside the top 10. The rest of the qualifiers, and you'll notice that there is at least one amateur car that will be highlighted here on the championship standings. And as I get over to that on the standings, take it away, Austin.
Yeah, gladly. And I mean, we actually have points on the board now with this being second round of the championship. So Jordan Daly winning both races last week with 138 points in first place. Second place, Marco Badowski with 119 points. Third place, Raphael Huel with 104. Nico Quizma takes up P4 with 97 points. Closely followed by Joe Dorber with 92 points. Carlos Calatayud in P6 with 80 points. That's Richard Whittle in P7 with 71. Ben Reese in 8th place. 9th place is Grim Lilith, and 10th is Luca Velasquez with 54 points.
A lot of shakeup in the championship points, you'd say, especially just looking at the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, and still subject to change. Tom Shipston taking 11th place. 12th place is John Dalton. 13th is Manso with 34 points. Also 34 points is Mike Redford in 14th place. 15th place is Matt Malcolm, 16th Phil Roberts, 17th Ted Edwards, 18th is Aaron Trout with no points. Aaron Jackson takes up P19 with no points, and anyone with a dash next to their name has signed out.
Yeah, I talked to the Kaiju driver Aaron Jackson prior to today's qualifying session, and he said that he watched the race back, and he says that he may have dodged a bullet by not being in round number 1. Commitments took him away from that, but he reckons that the same exact thing is going to happen, and for whatever reason assumes it's going to happen to him.
Maybe if the crystal ball is correct, we will have to see how that one pans out this week. It's all I'm going to say is that's going to make for some great viewing. But Nicole Fox taking again looks like a double win from last week as well, with 134 points, leading the Silver Championship. Ollie Mulder in second place, with closely following with 126. Martin Foster in P3 with 97 points. Bruno Teixeira in P4 with 92 points. Fifth place is Cormac Malloy. Sixth place is Adam Carlisle. Seventh is Peter Varga. Eighth is Peter Lundqvist with 71 points, closely following Varga. P9 is Keith Withall, and rounding out the top 10 is Jordan Bubbins.
Jordan Bubbins inside the top 10 after round number 1.
Yeah, that's hectic. The 621 of Jake Howling in P11. And then you got 12th place is Tejan Rudolph. 13th is Bayamonte. 14th is Hauser. 15th Turner. 16th Ibiza Racer. 17th is Louis Villamas. And 18th place is Luren de Jong.
Well, of course, we have an amateur class as well, and a couple of cars in that class. Trevor Byford is on the course tonight. I did not see the 272 of Chris, but that doesn't mean that they're not necessarily here. We just didn't see them. 30 cars on today's grid, and it was packed last week. It's packed this week. I don't know what the strategy is going to be, but luckily I don't have to know. I have lead strategist Austin Devonshire. Austin, what's my strat today?
Send it. You know, if you ask me that question, that's the answer you're gonna get, Jesse. It's just, I said it last week, and I'm gonna say it this week. It's just send it. Imola's kind of hard to do that. I mean, turn 1 is really deceptive. I mean, we all saw. I know we keep referencing Formula 1. It's an entirely different class of things, but we saw the Russell Bottas incident down towards turn 1. It's so easy to kind of get run off the racing line and to make a bit of a mistake. There's only really one line through the first part of the racetrack, and really, where can you really plan a move? I mean, there's the chicane towards the end, there's going down into the final corners, but ultimately, you know, it is a hard track to overtake on, but that, in a way, that also makes it more exciting, because when a move is made, it's usually a heck of a move.
And I'm just looking at this grid, Austin. Ted Edwards with that huge move. He said that he was probably gonna be finishing inside the top 10. Didn't know exactly where. I would love to know what Nicole thinks about their excellent run coming into this season. They've got to be absolutely pleased as punch with how this campaign has gone so far. It's not been without challenge, mind you. Do flash yourself back to the ensuing battle for silver supremacy 1 week ago, but they've made it look easy, and good drivers just tend to do that.
I mean, yeah, it's part of the, you know, it's one of the things that makes this series so interesting to watch. You know, we do have a mix of skilled drivers, and again, it's one of those things where it's such an accessible series. I think that's the one thing that I'd like to take away from it, at least. And the best part is, you can also get involved in it so easily. There's, you know, just join the link of the Discord below, and, you know, come race with us. I mean, we've already seen we've got a mix of. Is that Mike Redford? Yeah, it's the Mike Redford Racing and the little plaque at the top and the little achievements, which it's always quite fun to see. And I also like the retro rear wing as well. It's always good to see that. But yeah, we've got the AM drivers on the grid as well, so no matter what the skill level, there's always a race for you anyway. So hop on in.
Absolutely, racerci.com. A lot of things going on in the ensuing weeks. We'll talk about that as we get going in the broadcast. A lot of the cars firing up, dropping off the jacks. That means that a race start is imminent at some point. I don't want to know what Slowpoke Juice is.
Is that stream friendly, Jesse? I think we're going to move on from that as quickly as we can.
No, it is. It is. It has been explained to me what that is, and what that is in reference to. It's not anything sinister. I promise you. It is, however, a horrible thing to say.
It's Slowpoke Juice. But it's yeah. You know, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to go there, Jesse. I didn't get that memo. But is that the Iron Lynx Huracan? I think it is. It's a real world livery. It's yeah. I always like the Iron Lynx cars. They're always quite nice. But at the same time, you know, we've obviously we get quite a lot of amazing liveries on the grid, as is here at RCI, and it goes to show just how artistic the community can be.
Yeah, if there's one thing I know about Kaiju is that I never know what to expect. They seem to come out with a new livery every championship. I think sometimes the livery design, and I think a lot of painters will agree that I think sometimes the livery is half the fun of a race like this or a series like this. You get to do your own thing, and it's really fun to get it on the grid, and you get all the reactions from people, and it's one of those things that it's as old as sim racing itself, skinning, and I still love that in 2024 it's still a thing, and you get some excellent liveries. Sometimes they're called slowpoke juice, but beggars can't be choosers.
That is it, and again, having a great livery as well just kind of gives us more of a reason to give more screen time as well, and yeah, it's nice also just having something just to kind of be identified by. It's Joe Dauber we're actually spectating at the moment on the formation lap, going down into or towards Aqua Minerale. Um, yeah, it shouldn't be a too long of a formation lap around here. It's not that long of a racetrack, which gives us less time to kind of waffle on. But I mean, Jesse, what's your predictions for today?
Well, I think it's going to be chaos up at the front. I think it's going to be chaos in the back. You're likely going to see a completely different race complexion as opposed to Kyalami because, of course, we're at a completely different racetrack. But there's also different players, with the exception of Nicole Fox and Ollie Mulder at the top of the silver field. These are new players. Joe Dauber is not necessarily new, but they are looking to sort of vanquish the demons of a week ago. Luca Velasquez up there in a position that they're so close, it near as makes no difference. Marco Badowski looking to continue to make their mark. No Jordan Daly today, and that leaves a little bit of a door cracked open for somebody else to fill that spot, and somebody will indeed. I'm expecting absolute carnage. This track breeds contact, and I would expect nothing less.
Oh, Robin's racing at the end of the day, or so they say. And this is, if there's ever a track that encourages that sort of mentality, it is Imola, as we're coming across the start-finish line now, about to go green any moment.
Oh, it's a
And
long old hold around here, remember, Austin?
yeah, no, that's very true, because you've got the slight curve on the start-finish line, and then it's a run straight down to Tamburello, or at least the Tamburello chicane. But yes, no. Again, it's quite tight as well, with tight curbs on the first couple of corners, but as we're waiting, we've got the UI back, we've got the leaderboard on the left-hand side. That's going to go hectic for a little while before it settles down, but for starting the first 30-minute race of the night, we are green. Dauber getting a pretty, actually, I would also say a pretty okay start, but that's also, I believe that's Velasquez in the Mustang, getting a move on the outside, making a move on the outside of turn 1. Cuts back into middle of turn 2, and just for a moment, the Mustang appearing really strong on the curbs here. Dauber actually having to go defensive against, I believe that's Badowski. Yeah, it's Badowski behind Dauber, and the 777 has been relegated to P2 throughout all of this. But overall, looking at the track map, no real incidents, Jesse.
Couple of cars off of the racetrack into the back, but they've rejoined without any further incident. They were 3 wide coming through turns 3 and 4 that time, but other than running wide or maybe a little bit of a hip and a shoulder check, no major incidents as well. And just as I say that, we get to the hairpin, and it's all gone wrong for the 99.
99 and the 6.
That's Peter Lundqvist, and who else?
That's Rudolph. That's Rudolph in the number 6 McLaren. They've had a bit of a coming together at the back of the field. But I mean, both are going now. But again, that's a big setback for such a short race.
Well, let's see if we can't dial up a replay here and take a look at exactly what happened between those cars. I'm actually not showing anything for those particular vehicle. Well, actually, nope. Tell a complete lie. Here's a replay. This is off the initial start, though.
Oh, this is way back when. That's, again, you see what I mean? It's so easy just to get run off the road a little bit there. And that's Trevor Byford. That's the AM-class driver that we have on the field, or at least the AM-class driver that we've seen in the past. But again, the 28, that's the 28 McLaren. Little wiggle coming that second to last corner there. Luca Velasquez leading the first lap through and through. Dauber still chasing, followed by Badowski, followed by Ted Edwards, just half a second behind Badowski. And Benjamin Rees also, I think it's Benjamin. It's Rees of the 505 Aston coming up alongside as well, only half a second behind that. So again, still a fairly tightly packed front end.
Just really the only one major incident that has occurred. A lot of bumping and banging. We'll show you some of those replays as everybody for the moment single file. Mike Redford's trying to get around Bruno Teixeira though. Here is a lap 1 incident. Phil Roberts, I think he's going to get squeezed into a little bit here and a little bit of contact, and they will continue on. That was one of the cars off I mentioned earlier that went off. Here's the 157 with the 808. They had an eventful start to this race, I think we can all agree, but here's Byford's view of it. Yep, just another smacker car. Didn't even really leave the track, did the 157 of Keith Whittle, who he was in incident with there as well. So a couple of cars off of the racetrack, but beyond that, everybody's still single file, and that's the problem with this kind of race. If you don't have any sort of incidents, Bruno Teixeira has completely overran the chicane.
It's easily enough done. It's so hard to judge the record spot, especially with a bit of a concertina effect. With the yeah, there we go. Yeah, just maybe hit the brakes just a little too late. You know, again, it's that concertina effect of the cars up ahead. You know, it's you got to brake earlier than your normal braking marker. It's so easy to kind of get caught off guard by someone anchoring up a little bit more than you expect. But that will relegate Teixeira down to P20. But again, still an opportunity to climb through the field, and that's still only, what, 5th in class? So, again, it's not a huge step back, but definitely some work to make up.
Yeah, I know Mike Redford was pouring on the pressure to get around Bruno Teixeira as we were showing some of those replays. It didn't look like there was any contact. In fact, Teixeira only went off the racetrack. It wasn't self-preservation that caused him to come off the racetrack. It was preservation of other people's ability to race. That was contact.
That's Nicole Fox.
It definitely looked like, is that Nicole Fox or is that Tom Shipston?
I believe it was Nicole Fox. Shipston is the BMW, the 60 BMW is currently alongside Aaron Jackson right now. But Aaron Jackson actually losing a position there, in fact, because nipping at the heels of Nicole Fox, currently down in P2 in silver class. Ollie Mulder actually up into P8 overall, but for leading the silver class and taking that lead from Nicole. So Nicole had a bit of work left to do, kept it on the road after that little tap, not enough to send them off. So that's good news for them. Badowski with fastest lap of the race so far.
Let's see what happened here. A little contact. I think this is going to explain to us why Nicole Fox is not your leader in the silver class. And, well, no, that might have...
Didn't lose any position. They were already behind Ollie at that point, so Ollie's made a move at some point along the way and put themselves in front with 2 cars between them. That's Mansell and Quizma between Mulder and Fox. So, again, the pro and silver class cars, just in case you knew around here, they don't gain points for racing each other. The points are solely between classes, which is signified by the colour of the boxes. This is Jake Howling having a bit of a moment, being able to hold it not easy in the Porsche with that engine so far back in that car. It acts as a pendulum. If the back end starts to go, so hard to keep. But yes, silver class cars are competing for points between themselves, and pro class cars, another bit of contact there between Redford and Howling, but Redford being the one to fall back 2 places.
Redford lost a bunch of spots there. They tried to make a move, and they got a little sideways, and a little bit of contact there for good measure as well. The flash of the lights for Mike Redford illustrates how frustrated he was and how that all shook out. Let's take a on-board ride with Mike Redford as this happens.
Yeah, so it looks like he's come down into turn 1 on the outside, and yeah, just sort of just gets driven into a little bit there, but as you said, flash of lights, but again, it's such a tight sort of section of corners. Jorba making a move up Velasquez for the lead, having to fall back. The Ferrari not seeming all that happy on the curbs around here, but the Mustang, as you said at the start of this stream, Jesse, the Mustang is a wild card. It's kind of unproven. This is only our 2nd race with the Mustang here at RCI, and you just see how much curb it takes here at the chicane. And just it just means that the gap on Dorber just kind of grows. Dorber going from side by side, but now having to go defensive from Badowski. Velasquez taking fastest lap of the race from Badowski in the last lap or so. And the top 3 cars kind of pulling away from the rest of the field, which is Ted Edwards in P4. Again, I think we're going to see a fight for a good fight for the podium here, Jesse.
Yeah, Joe Dahlber had a really good look into the hairpin on Luca Falasca. Falasca had the outside, which ended up becoming the inside of the chicane. That's what saved him from the onslaught from the pole sitter of Joe Dahlber. And not a disaster there by any stretch of the imagination. Did Marco Badowski close in? Absolutely they did, but they still maintain P2. They're first in line. And if that Ferrari feels a little bit racy here as we go on, that could be a move that they would try again. But right now, the Rebound Racing car, your pole sitter P2, the meat in the sandwich with Badowski lurking in third. Austin, I ask people this all the time. I'll ask you again. Out of these three drivers, Falasca, Dahlber, or Badowski, which one would you rather be right now?
Honestly, Badowski. We interviewed Badowski last week, and when they were a little bit behind Daly for the first race, they were able to kind of calculate and formulate a plan to sort of take the position back and play the long game in a way and learn for the second race. We've got a replay on something here. It says Ted Edwards going wide, rejoining the track, and no contact from what I can see, but Ted Edwards leaving the racing surface at the top of the hill there, going down into Aqua Minerale, and is that Reese in the Aston there, also leaving the circuit. And Ted Edwards finding a way through there. So overall balance is restored. Both cars left the racing surface, but
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good. I saw something. That was a manual replay by me. I saw something weird, something funny on the timing and scoring that we use, and I was like, "That's weird. That's not how relative distance works." And as it turns out, Ted Edwards in fourth place goes off in the top part of the circuit. Aqua Minerale not particularly kind to Ben Reese, and everything resets. What do they say? The dark side of the force in equal balance?
Something like that. I'm fairly certain there's at least one Star Wars nut in the chat that can help us. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I'm impartial to a bit of Star Wars myself. Matt Malcolm not happy that would be the racer in the BMW in front. Flash of the lights. Didn't quite see what happened there. It was 2% start. It's a big anchor up there from Phil Roberts.
That was really close, and it's going to cost him a position, man. Maybe Teixeira is going to go around the outside. This might be a move that they can pull off. How hard is... Oh, he's going to fight it, is Phil Roberts. He's going to be forced... Who is it? Sorry?
It's Teixeira. I was getting that's elbows out right there. That was
yeah.
Before I saw that was a little bit of contact. It was kind of hard to see with the camera angle, but judging by the way that Roberts' car just kind of gets flung off of the racing surface, I believe my knowledge of this track isn't amazing, Jesse. I'll be honest, that's very Alto, if I remember correctly. Or does that come later on in the circuit? I can't quite remember, but huge knock-off there.
Yeah, huge contact. That's not going to make Phil Roberts very happy. And Phil Roberts will feel that he afforded Teixeira space and got bounced off of the racetrack unceremoniously, of course. And that is not a good race between those two. Some bad blood potentially. These two stuck side by side. This happens here at this racetrack. You get a run off the final couple of corners and just end up getting stuck side by side down the straight if nobody has a particular horsepower advantage. Mike Redford unable to make the pass on Richard Whittle, gets back in line. He'll give it another go. He probably knows, Mike does, that he's got a better third sector than Richard Whittle, and he's just got to set him up. The problem is now he's got to wait an entire new lap. Mike Redford said that wasn't great for me this week. I assume he was talking about his qualifying. Had a 10th and would have meant so much based on his start position. That would certainly have changed his outlook on how the race has gone, of course. Aaron is in front of me, so I have hope now. Aaron and Mike Redford racing each other. Of course, Aaron Jackson now is in 13th place, Mike Redford in 17th, but relatively nothing in it between them.
No, that's just it. And I've corrected my sins, actually. Verite Alta's the chicane towards the end there, Jesse. I just had a brief moment just to look it up for a second.
Joe Dahlber was excited in chat. I missed this message, Joe. If you watch this back on repeat, I apologize. He said, didn't bottle qualifying this time. That's a W. We take those here.
Well, that's just it. And I might have bottled the race start just a little bit, but I don't. That's unfair. That's unfair. I do think Velasquez just got a great start rather than anyone having a bad one, and just managed to make that move stick into turn one. Grim Lilith chasing down Howling in that Porsche, and again a bit of a tough, but that Porsche really kind of putting up a fight here. Matt Malcolm trying to make a move on the outside of a Ibiza race. We saw the lights flash earlier. Will this be an opportunity to make a move down into Tamburello? Again, has it the inside line, but has to dart to the outside to open up the corner. As you lose so much speed and then having to go defensive against Xera, and that's Ibiza race actually losing control slightly through Tamburello and dropping back 2 places.
Close indeed. Austin, quick question for you. Do you hate Phil Roberts?
I do not hate Phil Roberts. Why is this brought into question?
Well, the field certainly does, because another incident with Phil Roberts, this, of course, versus the 508 of Peter Varga. Oh, yeah, that's just a stack up in the chicane there.
You see, if I didn't know any better, I'd say Phil Roberts didn't like Peter Varga, but that's
fair enough indeed. Yeah, that's just an accordion effect. It's going to happen. A car gets stuck in there. They hit the chicane awkwardly, or they hit the inside curb, and they have to slow down, and that just constitutes the entire field up, and that's going to happen as surely as New York City traffic jams.
Is just it. I mean, there's plenty of parking spaces around the racetrack, but the apex is not one of them. Otherwise, that tends to happen. Raphael Kuhl chasing down Reese chasing down Edwards. Again, just as the first 3 cars very close together, so are sort of 4, 5, and 6. So the top 10 really up for contention here. But, you know, I'm going to say something, Jesse. That Mustang doesn't seem as strong in a straight line as I would like, but if you were to compare the Mustang to any car on the current field, it would probably be the V8 Aston, actually, right? So, big V8 up front engine, rear-wheel drive, obviously, like all of the, rear-wheel drive like all of the GT3s in this game and in real life. But, again, very similar format layout of car, probably similar in terms of performance around here as well, but the Mustang definitely seems a bit stronger in terms of overall pace, with Velasquez having the fastest lap and leading the race as well, pulling ahead of Dauber by almost a second, and over a second even between Dauber and Badowski.
Yeah, it's really close. For those that aren't aware, the Mustang has Aston V12 Aero, and it has the engine and drivetrain of a Jaguar, and that makes for a very interesting drive. I've heard just as many people tell me, yeah, I like it. I like that it's quirky. I like that it's new. It's a challenge to drive it sometimes and understand what I can get out of the race car. Other people, they have completely turned against the car based on it being sort of a Frankenstein's monster of sorts. But again, it is... realistically, for me, it's split 50-50. I like it. I like the fact that we have it. I like the fact that it's viable to race right now. As you can clearly see, Mustangs dotted throughout the field here, and I'm all about diversity on my racetracks.
Yeah, and it's great to see some more American representation as well. That's something that was lacking in this game. I mean, we had the Camaro GT4, but in terms of GT3, that's Carl Turner off, interrupting that little train of thought there. But I believe that is...
long replay.
Yes, so let's see what happens here. Coming through the hairpin, again, chasing that's Phil Roberts in the Kaiju racing car, right? That's the slowpoke McLaren that you see up front there. What actually happens? We know the McLaren's not great on the curbs. Coming down towards Aqua Minerale. And it's like cut to an entirely different car there, Jesse.
It was accidentally. I didn't mean to do that. Here we go.
There's the problem. Coming down to Variante Alta. See, I know I fixed it. I know my stuff. But coming down to Variante Alta. Yep, there we go. That's what we're talking about with the curbs in this McLaren. It just does not like them.
Austin, say the thing. Say the thing, Austin. You're British. Say the thing.
What thing?
Park there, sir.
You can't park there, mate.
Oh man, that's a lonely feeling. All jokes aside, none intended negatively towards Carl Turner. Did the exact right thing you do in that situation, where all you really can do is do a 5-point turn and back it out of the drive. That could have been a lot worse than it actually was. Credit to them Talked about that pre-race.
Oh, that's Ted Edwards. That's Ted Edwards in the wall.
Oh.
I think they might have got turned by Reese there just a little bit coming out the final corner, and yeah, no, I saw Reese caught up. Yeah, here we go. Here's the replay. Caught up just a little bit of a bump in the final corner, a little bit more of a bump, just sending that Mustang round. So, I mean, not great for Ted Edwards. Was running in P4, but now sent all the way back to P9 across the start line now, with only 12 minutes ready to make it up. And you know, you got to feel for Ted, because this kind of happened last week in Kyalami as well.
Yeah, Ted sort of felt that the top 10 was on the cards, the qualifying was there, but obviously now they are on the back end of that. They had a magnificent final run in quality to get them up to the second row of the grid, but that right there, my personal opinion, Austin, is that was completely avoidable. Tapped once, twice, 3 times a lever, and you go around, and you got to avoid mistakes like that.
Yeah, it's not great, especially, you know, when it is multiple taps. It's like the Porsche as well with a little bit of a tap there as well. I think that was Howling in the background, taking a little bit of a nudge from Redford there. I saw the back end just step out like it had been hit, but I might be mistaken. It might just be a little bit of on throttle oversteer. But again, these sprint races really kind of bring out the aggression. We've seen a little bit of contact between a few drivers now. But we said this last week as well, there's 2 races in half an hour, but you got to find the right level of aggression, because you don't have too much time to play the long game at a single race. You could do what Badowski did last week and play the game for the second race, try to find the weaknesses of the car in front and then exploit them for the second race. Here's Keith Whittle making a move on one of the Mustangs.
Martin Foster, oh my goodness!
That's a big nudge!
Oh my goodness, that goes back, that is absolutely insane. That was Martin Foster and Keith Whittle in one of the most bizarre incidents, and I hate to say this, on the same lap, but I will. You got to avoid stuff like that. That's completely avoidable incidents.
Yeah, that's just it. Even if you got the overrun in a straight line, you got, you know, again, the start finish straight isn't really a straight one here, Imola, is it? There is actually turn 1 is actually on that thing. That's having Jackson finding action in the gravel. The number 98 Porsche managed to keep it out of the wall, joining onto the
easy rejoin.
Rejoining the track in front of, that's Malcolm and Redford. Yeah, Malcolm, Redford, and I believe Texera. Yes, that's the McLaren of Texera that just tucked in behind. But yeah, it kept it out of the wall, which is impressive enough as it is.
It really is. Ollie Mulder here making a move on Ben Reese. That doesn't do anything for the Unicorn Shoot Lasers racing affairs. They're already in the lead of their class. What that does do is add an extra insurance policy back to Nicole Fox here, who is in second place by a few cars, and about my eyeball says that's less than 3 seconds to gap, so that's certainly a welcome insurance policy for Ollie Mulder to pass pro cars.
Yeah, that's just it. And again, like we said, they're not fighting for points between themselves, but making Nicole's job harder. I mean, Nicole's proven their pace, right? I mean, they were P1 in terms of qualifying, and they took both races in that class last week. So yeah, when you have an advantage over a driver that you know is quick, you know, you got to take every piece of advantage that you can find, and that's exactly what Ollie Mulder's doing. But having to go defensive against Reese going down into Tamburello, has the inside lineup, but will concede it. No point in trying to risk it, risk an accident, especially when you're so far ahead. But that gap now falling down to just to one car, that's Shipston, separating themselves and Nicole.
And the problem with that too, Austin, is that even though that wasn't the biggest deal for that pass, that held up Ollie a little bit. And you see Nicole for next round racing, they're not racing anybody. They're right behind that group that we were just watching, and they're getting free reign. In fact, you can see them all in the same straightaway, and if you're the leader, Ollie, that kind of messes with you mentally, that you can see the driver behind you, and now Nicole's a little bit closer this time as well, because you took a position and gave it back up, and all that does is further lose you time. In fact, now, yeah, it's about 2.5 seconds, the gap between the two of them, probably a little bit more than that now, actually. But the point is you take a position, you feel good, then they come back on you because they're a pro driver. They also they don't have any quarrel with you, but they still have to race you because their class, the rest of their cars, are directly in front of you. So you're racing each other, and Ollie Mulder, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That's just it. But from the again on the flip side, Jesse, from the course point of view, you see, you see the car in front of you. You see Ollie just sort of drop back that position. But then the stress is kind of on. You look at the clock, you realize there's only 8 minutes remaining, and you've got 8 minutes to make a move on a pro car, and then try and make the move for position as well. So the best thing you can maybe do is try to push people into a mistake. But when you're in a car that's so volatile, like the McLaren itself, we've already seen one McLaren go off into the barriers. You've got to be careful on your own pace as well, so that can add pressure both ways. It all just depends on which drivers prefer to chase or to be chased. Mike Redford making a move on, that's Malcolm. Yes, that is. I believe that's the right Malcolm. Both coming together at Tamburello. Redford keeping it on the track, but Malcolm going off into the gravel. Both losing the position to Texera. That's Aaron Jackson going through, and also Ibiza Racer fighting their way through as well. Redford coming off better in that exchange. And I can imagine that Malcolm might have something to say about that.
Yeah, that was a very scary moment there for, I believe you said that was Malcolm that they were involved with there, but just whatever was going on there, just a disagreement of space. It's a common problem here at this racetrack down into turn number 2, and you saw it there where you're trying to get a run on somebody and you're trying to outbrake them, and so a lot of times you outbrake yourself and you force that car off into the dirt. That was an unadvantageous position for the car shunted off because they technically could rejoin, but there's no good way to rejoin at that complex 3, 4, or 2, 3, 4, and 5, because all the corners that you're off on are the outside apex of the corners that you're coming off. So because of that, you're essentially rejoining into traffic. Instead of doing that, driver did the right thing, in my opinion, Matthew Malcolm, and just kept it in the ditch and preserved a lot of good race cars. So while that wasn't beneficial at all to them in any way, shape, or form, that was the sporting thing to do, and my hat's off to them.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one thing I really like about the community here. You rarely see, people actually taking advantage of those kind of situations. They are quite sporting. They do back themselves down. So that's one thing I really like about the racing here at RCI. Benjamin Reese, or Ben Reese even, sitting P10 currently. I mean, they've had some fights so far around here. Ollie Mulder's found a way back around Reese at some point in time, and actually pulled up by a second so far from what I'm seeing on the score sheet. You see the two Astons going along in single file, basically. Ted Edwards making some positions up to P8, but still, a far cry from that P4 that they were in. Phil Roberts down in P21 in a fight between Malcolm and Redford. All the action seems to be actually going on back here now, which, again, this is something I love about this series, and I love about Imola, in that there's just action throughout the field. You've got the top 3 cars fighting it out. Still, if you look at the track map, I believe they are still kind of just about together. 32 at the 7, 7 at the 45, coming out of the first corner. Ibiza Racer with a drive-through that's just popped up, and we've got no live stewarding here today, so the drive-through will be given by the game, and that'll be track limits, Jesse.
Sure will, and that is a track limits penalty in 26 minutes. That's nowhere near a record here at RCI, but that is a quick one indeed. Didn't even talk about track limits in pre-race today, though it is quite possible to do that. This is one of those weird tracks too, Austin, where it's possible to get double limits if you run wide on a couple of different corners here or cut the chicane down the back straight. It is possible to give yourself a double track limit warning here, and I don't know if that's what's happened to Ibiza Racer, but something clearly has gone terribly wrong, and that's going to take them out of contention here today for race number 1. But don't fret, got a whole nother race to go.
That's it. I mean, this is what I mean. You can play the long game. You can kind of pick up the weaknesses of the cars around you in race 1 and then exploit them in race 2 when you've got a better idea, and just kind of keep a good solid position for P1 for race 1 and just take home as many points as you can. That's what Badowski did last week, in fact. They said in the interview they saw where Jordan Daly was kind of weak during race 1, and then in race 2 knew that they had to get the start to jump Daly, and just basically stay ahead. And that's exactly what they did. They exploited the information that they knew to play the long game for race 2, and almost actually paid off until that mistake on the final lap. Ben Rees going on the inside of Variante Alta. You see how much those Asters just eat the curbs, but again, in eating the curbs, we've already seen out to Ibiza. You've seen the track limits, you've seen what happens around here. And as you say, there are some corners where you really don't want to do that because you get the double warning as well coming down into the final corner.
This was the very first track I ever got a double warning. I didn't know it was a thing, and I was less than happy about that. And I turned to our mutual friends group here at RCI, like, hey, can you believe that? And they just gave me the meme of first time. You know that meme where they're all at the gallows, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a common thing. And it's since cropped up at other tracks, but this is the first place it ever happened to me, and you feel gypped. You only get 3. And if you use 2 on one corner because it decides that going off the track and coming back on is 2 different cuts on a extended radius corner, then you can get popped for that. And chicanes are notoriously bad for doing that as well, because if you clip the inside curb too much, you go over that and you're flying through the air, but you go through the grass in a chicane, that may also count as a double cut. Or if you cut the inside and go wide but keep your foot in it on a chicane, that is also an easy way. And not just here at Imola, these are other tracks that have this problem as well. You can get a double warning for that. One for cutting the inside of the chicane and one for keeping your foot in it, extending track limits on the exit. I don't know who hired the F1 stewards, but I've had it.
Well, I mean, at least they're consistent, right? But on the topic of hitting the inside curb, Jesse, I've got an Austin fun fact for you. Wait, that can wait. That's Trevor Byford in the wall. That's the 808 McLaren in the gravel. Has come off the wall. I believe that's not Tamburello. That's towards Villeneuve. No, that is Tamburello. That is Tamburello. Turns 2 and 3. Sorry. Let's get a replay on that. Trevor Byford. If I'm assuming anything, they hit the inside curb. Looks self-inflicted. Yeah, pushing the track. It was just a little bit there, running onto the Italian flag on the outside curb, and there's the outside curb there. It looks actually this is this last corner. So heading towards Tamburello now. If I had to assume, Jesse, it's just an incident with the curb.
Yeah, it's probably going to be something like that. We talked about the McLarens. They really don't like the curb. Some other cars struggle with it as well, but not quite like this car. We'll see what exactly happened here, and yeah, just
lift off oversteer. Lift off oversteer. Bad looks of it.
Oh, into the wall, and here starts the long process of getting that car back on the racetrack because it's facing the wrong direction, and you really don't want to. Now that was brilliant. I like that. A risky maneuver there, but absolutely awesome. That was clean.
That was really clean, especially on the gravel as well. It's so easy to overcook it and actually spin the car on more than you intend, or even worse, onto the track. That's Mike Redford going slow in pits, and Rudolph also in pits, but I think they have been in pits for a while. Redford's it's not Redford throwing in
he
the
stopped.
Fuel? Could it be a lack of fuel at this point in time? Potentially.
He's not done an actual pit stop. He's trundling down pit lane. He's nowhere near the pit lane limit.
Is flashing. His rev limits is flashing, almost like he's got the throttle pinned in. So now the speed.
That's very interesting. He was going 15 kilometers down pit lane, and now he's returned to.
There's the reset.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with the Mike Racing 95. If anybody wants to go to, I believe, Twitch and figure out exactly what has transpired, Mike Redford, but that is a head scratcher. They appeared to be troubleshooting something while rolling down pit lane, 15 miles an hour, but the race has ended while we were dealing with all that. Luca Velasquez won it over Joe Dauber. Marco Badowski will take home third place in today's race. Raphael Huell, John Dalton, all the way, where'd he come from? All the way inside the top 5, João Manso, Nico Kuizma, Ted Edwards, Ben Rees. After all of that, will get credit for 9th place. Came from outside the top 10 after early race incidents. Ollie Mulder has won it in the silver class over Tom Shipston. Of course, well, actually, no, not over Tom Shipston, over Nicole Fox, in fact. Grim Lilith, Richard Whittle, Bruno Teixeira is your third place car in the silver class.
I mean, that was a fairly tame race for Imola. I think we could agree, Jesse. I
Oh,
mean, a few incidents here
100%.
and there. But something you said last week is now on my mind, and that is with these sprint races, you tend to get one calm race and one chaotic race, and
Mm,
you never know you never know which one it is that you're going to get. Here's a
it's after the flag. It's
that's yeah, okay, that makes more sense. I
yeah.
was gonna say
Like, what is happening here? Yeah.
that's that's one for the review. But if it's after the flag, then Velasquez P1, Dauber P2, Badowski P3, Raphael Cure P4, John Dalton P5, Mansour P6, Quizmo P7, Tedwards in P8, Ben Reese at P9, and Ollie Mulder rounding out the overall top 10 and your silver class first place sitter. If that was the calm race, Jesse, this next one might be a little bit more hectic.
Yeah, Austin, you're 100% correct. That was absolutely too calm. We only had one real incident off the initial start. We had a lot of argy-bargy in that race, but when you have 30-plus race cars on a racetrack, especially one that cold where the tires are not anywhere near maximum grip, it's going to happen to begin with, and race car drivers are going to be race car drivers elbows out, as you said as well. So you have that situation going on, and all in all, it was well kept together. We started with 30 cars. We ended with technically all 30 cars. Terry Rudolph didn't complete the majority of the race. They will not get championship points. You must complete 85% of a race to get points. They did not do that. So, but they did not disconnect. They are here for race number 2. Race 1 in the books. And I'll tell you what, we were right on all accounts, Austin. We talked about would it be more the same from week 1 or would it be completely different? And we were right. It was absolutely the opposite of week 1.
For now, there's still another half an hour, Jesse, so I don't want to speak too soon. I really don't want to speak too soon. In terms of something I'm finding fascinating is just how the Mustang is performing, and again, the top 5 for the most part is the new Mustang and the 296. And the Porsche seems as reliable as ever. It's always been a really strong choice, since the game was released. And the 991, wasn't it, when the game released? The 992 came fairly recently-ish, in my recent memory. But the Porsche always been a somewhat reliable choice at most tracks. But no, I'm finding it fascinating how the Mustang is coming along, because again, this is the first time we've really seen it across a series of tracks in anger, and that's 3 out of 4 races over the last 2 weeks now that it seems to have taken. So, is it going to be more of the same this next race? Do we think?
Well, I've talked to some of the drivers prior to this championship going off. I knew this was going to be the first championship with the new Mustang in it. I talked to Tom Watts and picked his brain. I picked a lot of the drivers' brains, and I kept bringing up, I was like, well, I'm looking at the practice times and everything, and they look really good for the Mustang. There's a lot of Mustang drivers. It seems completely viable as a car to pick. Almost everybody, no matter if they were in the Mustang or not, said the same thing. Yeah, it looks like that because a lot of the really good drivers are in it and they're making it look easy, but it isn't. It isn't easy to drive that car. It isn't easy to set that thing up. It isn't easy to live with on the racetrack. And contrary to all of that, I mean, they may be correct. There are great drivers in the car, but if they are struggling with it at all, they must be excellent drivers because we don't detect any real struggles. We saw the back end at Kyalami get out on them, but nothing really. I mean, the low light level can mask a lot of that, but it looked like it looked like a pleasant Sunday drive for Velasquez there in race number 1.
A little bit, and some of the drivers actually in the chat on the YouTube stream, John Daly saying that the Mustang is a bit OP, with a bit of laughter there. Bobbins confirming that the Mustang's got some crazy straight line speed, and Dauber, who was actually sat behind Velasquez for a lot of that, saying it was interesting watching it float effortlessly across the chicane. So yeah, definitely confirming what we thought. The Mustang definitely seems like it is good on the curbs. Daly saying that it gets slidey real easy and the traction is weird. And again, it goes to show that maybe, you got to know how to get the most out of it, but you could say that the same for any car. And just got to set it up right.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Are you
setups,
kidding
Jesse,
me? Are you
spe-
absolutely kidding me?
I am not kidding you. I mean, heck, these streams, these championships wouldn't be possible without our lovely partners. So, speaking of setups, you want to go, you want to find setups, especially for the Mustang. Go Setups has them. So, actually, I think Go Setups was one of the first setup shops to actually include the new Mustang. And they are in our John Daly Go Setups for the win in the chat there. Again, you've got a race winner in this championship kind of vouching for them as well, so it doesn't get much higher praise than that. Driver 61 talking about sort of the skill to be able to control these things. Driver 61 has the driver tutorial to be able to do that, so again, check out the Driver 61 links in the description below. Digital Motorsport has the online sim builder that you can do, so you can kind of pick out parts that you for a sim rig that you might want to look at buying, or even just play around with it for fun. That's great. AK Esports help keep the lights on as well. And last but not least, to go on that fancy sim rig that you've just built on Digital Motorsport, you've got our partner Fanatec, and I mean, they need no introduction. They do wheelbases and pedals, and you've probably seen them about at least somewhere once or twice around these parts. Yeah, without those guys, this wouldn't be possible, and thank you.
I'm going to call out my partner Austin for a second. I'm going to call out myself, actually, is what's going to happen here. Obviously, it's just the two of us in the booth today. I'm doing the cameras and also trying to talk over it. Not my strong suit. Ask any person I've dated. I can only do one or the other. I cannot do both. And that includes driving. If I'm driving, I'm not listening to you. It's not because I don't want to listen to you. It's that I do not have the mental capacity to do so. Therefore, I hand it over, as is tradition here, the lead comms roles, which incorporates all the back-end stuff, the boring stuff, but also the heavy stuff, to Austin. I did that not 15 minutes before we went live this evening, and instead of arguing or freaking out or being upset, Austin rattles off, I'm going to do this, that, and this. Austin, you're an amazing human being. You handled that with poise and grace, and you've entered the shill wars as well with that. That was very well done. I don't think anyone noticed they were being advertised to. My goodness.
Of course,
I'm calling myself out for being a bad manager. I'm calling Austin out for being an excellent commentator.
I learned from the best, Jesse. That's all I can say.
Yeah, John Dalton is awesome.
Just taking notes, watching the stream, writing furiously. No, no, you know me. As soon as you put me on lead comms, you knew what you were getting yourself in for. There was going to be bad puns somewhere along the way, but
I would like to say something, Austin, and this is completely beside the point, but my ADD kicked in or something. Does this track map, the way it's framed, does it not look like a wolf howling?
I was just about to say that. I was actually just about to say that.
Are you kidding me?
No, legitimately. When you said that track map, I looked at it and went, "Oh, that looks kind of like a dog, actually."
Oh my goodness gracious. Let's read some chat messages here. Fernando Gomez has joined us from the Gomez Sim Racing team from Argentina. Hello and good evening to you and your team. Daily chiming in there with bits. Jordan Bubbins. Bubbins, where are you? Are you not in this race? Why not? And if you are, where are you? Joe Dauber says it was interesting watching it. We already talked about that.
Yep,
Joe.
Michael Redford, though, rarely gotten that mad in a race as short as this.
Yeah.
And not with themselves for a change. We saw them in quite a few fights, actually. So, again, it's stressful, especially here in the dark. 3:55 a.m. on the clock. And on a racetrack that's already pretty difficult at the best of times. So going wheel to wheel with people in these lighting conditions, not easy.
Well, Ibiza Racer is going to start this from the pit lane. I don't think that's on purpose. It might be. I don't mean to question racers' tactics here, but I think it's also possible that they just missed the gridding up process. Either way, they're still in the race. They'll just have to start from pit lane. And considering how smooth round number 1 was, that might be smart. And something else has happened.
Phil Roberts as well. Yeah, I was about to say
that's on purpose. Knowing Phil Roberts, That is on purpose. He did not miss the start. He is doing this deliberate because he was in the wars in race 1 here of round 2. He doesn't want to have that befall him again. He's going to start in the back, and he's going to hope to pick up the pieces. Now, if I'm incorrect about that, he will surely correct us there. Going back to Redford for a second, he mentioned that he was absolutely livid with somebody out there on the racetrack. I appreciate that honesty from Mike as well. But I'm actually curious, which car is he mad at?
Honestly, given what we saw, I wouldn't be surprised to find that that's plural, Jesse. I mean, Redford.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Like,
Like, is it red mist for one driver, or is it a general distaste for several drivers in the field here tonight? We have retained 29 of the 30 cars. One car has retired, and is that the 225 that has in fact retired? Nope, he's back. He did retire momentarily, but Phil Roberts is back, so maybe they are experiencing a mechanical issue.
Yeah, so that's a beta racer and Roberts both in the pits as well, and yeah, you see the car just drop off the jacks there. Yeah, the car, oh, interesting, because the car did just drop off the jacks for just a moment, which suggests he's just come out of the setup screen. But if they've disconnected, then maybe again, yeah, maybe not starting for the pit lane, Jesse.
One race typically is calm. One race is chaotic. We generally agree that race 1 was very calm. This is likely going to be the opposite. Dauber and Falaska, the top 2. Falaska had the better go of them in race number 1, but has Dauber learned anything here? Anything to combat that Mustang? They're lined up 2 by 2, Austin, ready to go for race number 2 at Imola.
Just waiting for that green light. Hey, Jesse, I took the first race. Do you want to take the second?
Well, if you insist, the first row, Dahlberg, Falaska, Badowski, Edwards, Fox, and Reese. Will Nicole Fox be able to maintain P1 this time as the lights are going to go green? And we are racing here at Imola, and it's a lot better start for the Ferrari of Joe Dahlberg this time as they all thunder down to turn number 2. Up the inside still is the Mustang, getting very aggressive. Our cars in the background, and it's all gone wrong. Mini cars off. It's bowling for several cars, and it's a accordion effect again as everybody's trying to navigate. That didn't appear to be quite enough vehicles to initiate a race restart, but it might have been a little bit close. Everybody back onto the racetrack now and down and away. The lineup mixed up for the time being, but a way messier start this time, confirming this is the wild race.
Yep, this is the chaos race, and there's the 225 back actually. The 801 just coming down to Tamburello now. The 225 coming up to Villeneuve, and that will be Phil Roberts, who we saw disconnect, but is now back on the racetrack. Manso is the Ford Mustang on the screen now. Ollie Mulder holding off Raphael Huell, and Nicole Fox actually holding that position ahead, but again, we could be in with a fight with the Silver Class champion, with the Silver Class cars. Aaron Jackson, again, looks like one of the cars that was involved in that turn 2 incident, chasing down, and that's Foster in the 44 McLaren, and now has to kind of make their way through a kind of a field of silver and amber class cars to get back to where the points are.
Oh my goodness! Oh, he's going to crash!
That was huge, and that's taken out Nicole Fox. Just granted Ollie Mulder the first place, the first position for the Silver Championship, but that was huge. I'm sorry, I'm kind of beside myself, just kind of processing that. Reese looks like he just hit the inside curb there, lost the rear end of the car entirely, rear end in the air, and taking out Nicole Fox. So where are they now? What's the final corner? 225 coming around there now. I'm trying to find Nicole Fox on the timing sheet. Let's find out the 314 McLaren. The 314 has got moving again, but towards the midfield of the pack now. So with some work to make up, Jesse.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. That was Ben Reese. They went over the curb, and that car launched in the air. Ben tried to corral it and thought for a second he might be able to do so. It whipped back on him and right into your pole sitter and race leader in the silver class. Nicole Fox is going to be absolutely livid. Nicole Fox, not an Imola fan after today.
Of course not, no, and this kind of goes back to that kind of the Austin fun fact that I was I was going to allude to at the first race, but you know, I got a little bit distracted during it. Um, Jesse, did you know that tyres only offer grip if they're in contact with the racing surface, and if they're in the air, they do nothing at all?
Yeah, that is the unfortunate part about friction, adhesion, and grip, is that unless you have an air brake, it does not work at all. There's also other adages I like. 8 tires corner better than 4. Not that I would recommend doing that in an RCI race with stewarding. Even, you know, obviously today, post-race stewarding, if any incidents are reported, they certainly will be. I can guarantee that this week, that incidents will be
there's
reported.
Another one. There's how was it looked like a BMW that went off to the thing like
right,
that.
you are.
Yes, and again, just went side by side, a little bit of a knock, and sent completely sideways. So straight away, 5 minutes in, and with more incidents than in the last race, pretty much already. Let's take a look and see what happened here. That's the 2 BMWs going side by. Actually, no, it's not a BMW. It's a BMW and a Ferrari going side by side. Ferrari came across and just was enough to knock the front end of the BMW facing the complete opposite direction as to away from the racetrack and towards the barrier. So who was that Ferrari? Kind of a bit of what
That was the 65. That was Jordan Bubbins. Jordan Bubbins is in the race here today. I was losing my mind. My apologies to Mr. Bubbins. He is in the race, and that was who was tangling up with the 79 on that one. Well, everything calming down a bit. We get a moment to exhale as the early lap battles are concluding, at least for the time being. Aaron Jackson trying to get by Trevor Byford and get closer to his class that he's racing. Tom Shipson's back there with him. They have Byford, of course, in between the two of them. They'll continue to work on that. So let's go back to the very start of the race and let's try and dissect what exactly happened, because it was very much a chain reaction incident, and the 98 of Aaron Jackson was at the epicenter of this incident with the 222 of Zhao Manso. Let's take a look.
Back to the restart here, and again, so as everyone starts to anchor up, it looks like Aaron Jackson and was that Shipston having a bit of an incident there, which just drives them across the track and into the line of cars trying to take the first chicane. And of course, when you've got a line of cars across the racing track, it's really hard to avoid at that point in time. And just looking at it from a different angle here, this is on board, not on board, but we're just spectating Carl Turner, and you can see that's a 44 McLaren off into the dirt as well. Yeah, just chaos all around in that first second.
Oh yeah, huge crash there as Martin Foster tried to pick their way through carefully, I suppose, and just gets absolutely obliterated. The 44 gets completely spun around, and it was on from there. The incident continued to roll. Everybody was able to eventually drive away from the scene. That was close to what we would consider a restart, but not nearly enough. A lot of cars involved, yes, but not a lot of them massively, and they were able to get that going. Typically speaking, for a race to be restarted, what you would typically have to do is you'd have to count as many cars. I counted about 8 cars actually involved. Everybody else was just going slowly through the area, not quite enough to make that happen. Hubert Hauser is in the pit lane. I've noticed the 199. If I'm not going completely blind, Matthew Malcolm has left the race after the most recent incident. They have left the race. I think that actually just happened as we were riding on board with them. So let's reset what's transpired thus far, or the results of what has transpired. Joe Dauber has learned from race number 1 and has beaten the Luca Falasca Mustang. The Rebound Racing 777 out in front here today, looking to continue their great points haul. Velasquez P2, you can just see them there. And shades of race 1, Marco Badowski in 3rd, lurking in the distance. Ted Edwards in 4th, Raphael Heel completes your top 5. Beyond that, Ollie Mulder has been gifted a lead here by virtue of being just far enough behind a previous incident that they were not involved. Ollie Mulder was the next car in line whenever Nicole Fox got taken out. Mulder able to drive through the incident scene and is in the lead again.
It's just that Nicole Fox actually down the auto chip, but actually has caught up to Bubbins a little bit here. Through either virtue of pace or Bubbins falling back slightly a second, and Bubbins only second and a half off of Reese as well. Reese was the other driver involved in that incident that took Nicole out. So, a huge incident where the back end of that, where Aston just left the ground for a prolonged period of time, I'd say. I'd say, Jesse. John Day with a little bit of support there for Dauber. Dauber still leading the race. Grim Lilith trying to make a move onto Redford. Redford holding on to him. Again, that's by virtue of that Aston being so good on the curbs. You saw how the Ferrari didn't like it coming as we remembered Variante Alta. And again, going down into the second to last corner, still not close enough to make a move. Velasquez holding fastest lap so far, and I say for holding fastest lap, but chasing down Dauber. Velasquez actually taking the lead, but Dauber dropping down into P3 behind Podolski.
Oh, something's happened to the 777, Austin. Tell me what you see.
Just looking on the replay here and coming down into the second to last corner. Is that just a send? That is a send and contact.
Oh, no.
Do you know what the heartbreaking thing is, Jesse? I've just looked at the chat, and Jordan Daly, the last message was jinxing.
Oh, dear. Well, well...
I'm blaming Daly. Daly, what have you done?
I'm not blaming Daly, but Daly has taken responsibility for it, and so be it. He's allowed to do that on his own accord. I will not shame him for that, but it just happens like that. Luca Velasquez just sort of drove away a bit after that and is in the lead of the race right now. But Marco Badowski, T-Monkey Racing, is in P2. Patience is a virtue, and Badowski is reaping the rewards of that. Now a car that doesn't have damage. You would assume Velasquez has some front aero damage to that Mustang. How big of a deal is that in the Mustang? Jordan Daly could probably tell us better than anybody else right now what that would be like. So I'm curious to have his input on how much of that is important. That with significant contact with Dauber. We know that Badowski's car is clean, and he is coming in that 45 T-Monkey Racing Ferrari.
No, he's sending it. I mean, Ferrari home turf here in Italy, and I mean, if we've got any Ferrari fans in the house, that will be absolutely, it's always a sight to see. It's a shame that this isn't Monza. In fact, I believe the full name of this track actually references Enzo's son, doesn't it? It's the Dino Ferrari, whatever, Ultimadroni di Italia.
Oh my goodness, somebody is crying in Italian right now.
More than likely. But no, Badowski, again, we've proven before, able to sort of calculate and kind of really good at picking out the weakness of the car in front. And we saw this happen last week in that they sent it on Daly at the start of race 2 and was able to kind of exploit the weaknesses that they found in race 1. They were a little bit behind in race 1 here, so maybe a little bit of fresh information, but again, fresh information or not, making a move there at the top of the hill, or at least looking at it.
Jordan Daly, coming in clutch as he often does on and off the racetrack, has enlightened us about the damage and how that affects the car. Now, if you get front or rear damage on a McLaren, that is incredibly damning. It is not the same for every car. Every car reacts differently. And Mustang being the newest car, Jordan Daly says damage on the Mustang isn't that bad. I've driven with over 20 seconds of damage and only lost 2 to 3 tenths, and says it also could depend on where it is on the car. Daly, thank you for that, and we'll see if that has rattled Velasquez at all as Badowski continues to pile on the pressure. And for any Italian viewers out there, I just want to make this clear. I want to apologize for my partner here. It is, of course, the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari circuit.
Yep, I knew there was a reference in there somewhere, but but no, it's obviously the story of Dino Ferrari is absolutely heartbreaking in all seriousness. So, if you actually do know a little bit of Ferrari history and the reason why the Ferrari Dino actually exists as a car, it's that's one thing I love about historic marques, is like everyone has its own story behind it, and it kind of makes every machine that they make today even more special, in my opinion. It's quite amazing to see, and the stories that this hobby, both real life and in sim, has crafted. Nico Quizma trying to make a move onto Grim Lilith, has a little bit of a look there going down into Villeneuve, but not close enough to really send it. Luca Velasquez with the fastest lap of the race so far still, and that will be Nico Kuzma again looking on the inside of the hairpin. That's the 99 stuck at the end of the track as well. I see the yellow flags on the track map, and I'm not entirely certain what happened there. That's coming through. That's one of the chicanes.
That was.
Tamburello.
We'll see a replay of exactly what happened to the 99. Was it contact with the 32, maybe? I don't know. There definitely is contact. Yep. I don't know if that's the 32 or not.
That's the 621. That's Howling in the 621.
You have way better eyesight than me. I can't see.
I recognize the grey colour and the green lettering.
I am learning that I'm night blind. Is what I'm learning here today. There's no artificial lights here at Imola. Oh my goodness, Phil Roberts goes one off of the racetrack, Dale Earnhardt style. And for a man that did it for Dale once in his career here at RCI, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Man ran an Earnhardt scheme. He's doing it for Dale, and he almost did it for Dale there. Dale Earnhardt, famous for the pass in the grass. And very nearly Phil Roberts doing the exact same thing. Looking at chat. Hey, don't knock it if it works. I don't know how legal that is in sports car racing. In NASCAR, yeah, you might be able to pass somebody legally in the grass because there's really, unless you're at a super speedway, there's no out of bounds. And the grass is not part of the racetrack, but it's at the racetrack. And I definitely remember in my younger days trying that on the video games, going through the grass to cut off lap time. Weirdly, it worked somehow. Just reading from chat, Matthew Malcolm, who has retired from this race in the 199 Malk Racing car, has said, didn't make a single change in the setup, and the Ferrari can't go over the same exact curb. Absolutely livid and frustrated is Matthew Malcolm after retiring. Better luck next week, Mr. Malcolm. Alexander Vanderwilde said, our ooh is still a thing in this chat. Ooh woo to you. Oh, double ooh woo. We are blessed this day. We are absolutely blessed. And what did Alexander say here?
Alexander also says, I hope Comms was doing the hand signals as they said Imola's full name.
I will not confirm nor deny, Mr. Wilder, that that's what was occurring. But if you felt it, let's just say that there's probably a reason that you felt that was... I'm not Italian, but I do talk with my hands a lot, even, which is really weird because nobody can see me back here in the booth, but I do talk with my hands a lot. I'm doing it right now. In fact, I'm the opposite of Ricky Bobby. I know exactly what to do with my hands. I'm talking to you.
We've started something, Jesse. In the chat, there is blessed be the double uwu, Ule with the uwu, Renora with the uwu. It's like a domino effect.
Oh man, the double uwu, it's amazing. You know what's really funny, folks? A little peek behind the curtain, if you will. We, as Aaron Jackson looking for a pass here on Jordan Bubbins for 18th overall. Doesn't matter who I'm commentating with, but I do it a lot with Austin. Austin is incredibly impassionate about racing, and we get really excited here. Car going off track there was Bubbins a little bit, able to get it back on no harm, no foul. I point at stuff I'm directing you to, despite the fact that not even you can see what I'm pointing at.
I mean, I often think Jesse's just losing his mind anyway, and
I am getting old. You know, it might be time to consider putting me in the home.
Well, we love you too much for that, Jesse. You're too much fun to bully on stream. It's great. Ben Reese,
oh my goodness, who was that?
That is yellow flags behind who we're watching at the moment. Who is behind? That's Nicole.
That wasn't John. That wasn't Dalton, was it? Into the wall? Surely not. It was a Porsche.
That would make sense. It's the only Porsche in that vicinity, unless it was Action Jackson. But Action Jackson's so far back. Let's get a replay of that.
Let's see. Was this John Dalton?
Yeah, Akram in the rally. Just lost the back end slightly. And then, yeah, big twitch there. Actually had the car under control for just a moment, but just not quite stabilized. And this is what I was talking about with the Porsche, that, you know, with the engine in the back, if it starts getting unsettled, the way I like to think about the Porsche, it's got tons of grip until it doesn't. Continuing our peek behind the curtain, there's a petition. The happy newbie
says a petition to have a video feed of the comms box. I would do that, but that would require me to dress appropriately. And considering these races happen right after my workday ends, I look like a pile of flaming garbage. But otherwise, I would be interested. We've actually talked about that quite a bit as well. But I wouldn't mind doing that. I think it would be especially fun.
Cool.
To do that pre and post race.
I'd be down for that, actually. Yeah.
I would. I'd do a weird camera angle for me though. I'd put it up in the corner of the room, almost like a sort of a room cam. And a lot of different commentators, and they have that set up, and I always like that aesthetic of the camera high and up in the corner, and you can see everything. I mean, I feel like watching me would be like watching an animal in a zoo, because I get very passionate as well. I stand up a lot, I yell a lot, but
that's the best way of doing this.
To be done. That I think that'd be very fun to have that at some point in the future. But no, it's also too. I just want to make it very clear. I am wearing pants right now, Austin. I know you wanted to know that.
I'm not looking into the table, Jesse. Don't worry. Whilst we've been talking, that was Jake Howling finding a way around Bub into the 65. The Car Fox trying to make up for lost time, actually chasing down Chipston, getting the draft in a straight line, but again, BMW also fairly strong on the curves. I think the BMW would be actually a pretty good all-around car here at Imola, and it's definitely proving to be the case. The McLaren's got a lot of potential, but you have to sort of really thread a needle with those curbs, as we have seen. I just kind of want to go back to a point just real quick, in terms of if any kind of community suggestions. Great place to drop them in the Discord, link in the description.
Let's go. Hey, I got a question for you.
What's that, Jesse?
How the heck did Ibiza Racer get a stop and go 10?
Would it be track limits again, considering that they had the drive-through with the first race? Would that drive-through then still carry on over as having been a penalty already issued, but then a stop-go being the next available penalty?
I don't know, right? Ibiza Racer has retired regardless. I don't think so. Then again, I'm not entirely sure. I don't even know how you get a stop and go in that situation in the first place. That was very strange. If somebody is more intelligent than myself in chat, being told daily, it is track limits. So would they have gotten a drive-through?
Wait,
and then
Darby making a move on Badowski. Sorry for interrupting there, Jesse. Darby actually going on the outside of Tamburello, making that stick. Darby coming back with a vengeance, actually, with the fastest lap of the race so far. That completely went unnoticed by us as we're talking about Jesse's attire and clothing in the box.
I'm wearing pants.
But that 777, what a move!
What a move!
Actually seeing that from... we're getting too distracted with this, Jesse. The ADD is kicking in for both of us. But again, Badowski right on the gearbox of Dauber's Ferrari coming on the run up the hill. Going actually a slight overlap side by side. I think Badowski actually backed out of that slightly. Still able to maintain the gap, running down to Aquamed and Holly. Not really an overtaking opportunity, but potentially, he's close enough to potentially force a mistake. Pulling up nice and close, but the best place to really make an overtake at this point will be Variante Alta. That's Dauber making a same mistake, but Badowski making the same mistake. Those cars really unstable on the curbs. Badowski, is he going to take a look at the inside of Variante Alta? Not going to, but again, cutting across the inside curb there. Again, last really good opportunity is going to be down to the first hit, well, he's going to go down into the last two corners. And then maybe a run into Tamburello, but Badowski just making that mistake on Variante Alta and falling back just a little bit, but good exit from the final corner would set them up for a repeat move at Tamburello.
Daly, by the way, explaining that you can get a stop and go for a egregious track cut. It is rare, but it is possible to get that, and that may have been the cause for Ibiza's penalty, and therefore a retirement. Badowski had a good look at Joe Dauber after the pass was made, but has been unable to keep in close contact. It has stuck, and of course the fastest lap for Joe Dauber here, 140.965, and ran 3 seconds slower than actually, 2 seconds or so slower than that last lap, but of course had to make a pass. But here's Badowski right back on, and looked like that Dauber gapped him coming down the pit straight, but in sector 1, Marco Badowski able to close in. You know who's really loving this? Luca Falasca, who's on his way to a second win here today.
4.6 seconds ahead. Again, it just goes to show if you start fighting with a car, you do lose that much time. Luca Falasca comfortably in the lead here. And I'm not sure if Dauber was just that fast off Badowski, was just kind of caught sleeping down at Tamburello whilst Dauber made a move around the outside, which I've never seen that before, Jesse. I mean, I'm fairly certain it's happened multiple times over, but it's always a sight to behold, because passing on the outside there, especially the way the track kind of cuts in, and yeah, it's a difficult move to kind of pull off, but Dauber really pulled that one off quite well.
It's a brave old move and a calculated one. You don't just go in doing that. That's something that you've either practiced or you have had set up before and maybe it didn't come off, but you realize you have to have confidence to do moves like that. And that's either something Joe Dauber orchestrated or something that he had done to somebody in practice or knew that the car was able to handle, or maybe it was a weakness of Marco Badowski that he was exploiting by pinning him down to the inside. One way or another, it was an excellent calculated racing move, and that's kind of what we expect out of the front part of the field. Speaking of that, Raphael Huell challenging Ted Edwards for 4th place here. Ted Edwards having a better go of it in this race, but now is into the clutches of Raphael Huell in the 21.
Why would you curse the man like that, Jesse? He's had such a rough last week and such a rough race just gone. And
you ready for a hot take?
Go on.
Surely this will not backfire. Ted Edwards for Race Ventura is uncursable. It won't happen. Ted Edwards is infallible, and it's good. I'm proving that the curse isn't real. And Ted Edwards is going to be immaculate here, and he's not going to let him through.
This is where Raphael's brake pedal fails or something, just temporarily.
Why would you do
just
that?
For this corner.
Why are you like this? Why have you done that to me? I thought we were friends.
Sorry, Jesse.
Marco Badowski, back to the package show.
Badowski coming out the final corner now, back on Dauber's gearbox, really coming back out at it at the 45 Ferrari. But again with a toe down towards Tamburello, and might again 4.5 minutes left on the board. Again, a huge fight for P2 coming up, and this is where Badowski has to make a decision. Do you do the repeat and send it on the outside, or do you try and claim the space on the inside and make that happen? It looks like Badowski's going to tuck behind again and just try and still kind of plan and move through. Still 4 minutes of the race remaining, plus a little bit of overrun time, but just dropping ground to Dauber in the first 2 corners. So again, it goes to show just how hard it is to overtake around here. You really have to plan it. Edwards making a slight mistake coming out of the Villeneuve chicane, but has the inside going into the hairpin. Raphael looking on the outside. It's going to come down to, I guess, the better exit. Ted Edwards going slightly defensive and will maintain that position. But the big fight right now seems to be between Dauber and Badowski.
Just to reset how things have gone, Luca Falasca, who was beat early by Joe Dauber here in race 2, has found themselves in the lead after contact between those 2 cars. You got to wonder if Falasca wins this race, will it stand? You wonder if Joe Dauber will protest in post-race stewarding. If I were him, I probably would, but that's me, not him. He may have a different take. Marco Badowski fighting Joe Dauber for P2 right now. Ted Edwards fighting, or Raphael Huell is fighting Ted Edwards, I should say, for the top 5 positions. Many other battles besides Grim Lilith trying to get around Mike Redford and João Manso and Nico Kuzma, trying to get around all of them as this gaggle continues to race late in the going. Less than 3 minutes left to go. Ollie Mulder inherited the lead again in this race, but this time in more dramatic fashion, as Nicole Fox was a couple of hip checks there.
Yeah, Grim Lilith and Mike Redford just a little bit of rubbing going on in the final 2 corners down in Mivata, but Lilith coming out in front there. But again, it's one of those things. If it's obviously there's not live streaming, but if Redford was to protest that, would it stand? That's Giamauto trying to make a move on the outside, and there's contact with Mike Redford, sending the Mustang around in the 4-360. Manages to drive around drive away in a straight line across the gravel. Will lose positions, plenty of positions, in fact, through Tamburello. But that would be Mike Redford actually coming off a little bit better there, but losing ground to Lilith. Actually, I'll say coming off better. Where does that leave Redford? I'm not seeing them on the... Oh, actually P14 in the pits. So again, is that another retirement from Redford?
I think it might be. I think he might not be happy about either how that went down. And so there's contact here. Oh, that's what happened. We didn't see that on the other camera, but Redford loses it as well after the contact. And there was additional... Kuizma comes in there, the stranded car of Mike Redford, and hits him right in the door. Nothing Nico Kuizma could have done there with a car stranded on the racetrack trying to recover. And that is why Redford has elected to take that car back down to the pit lane. That's not him. There he is.
Yeah, that's always disappointing to see, especially, when it's two races and both of them don't really quite seem to work out. Ben Reese going on back to Holly Morton actually through Rivalta, looking at the inside. We saw these guys fighting in the first race as well. Again, very sort of evenly matched. Morton making a slight mistake there going through the final corner. There's contact. That's both Aston's nearly off. The flash from Reese as well, and Reese was the car following in that one. So I'm not entirely certain whether maybe they felt that Ollie kind of came across them a little bit, or maybe just had a bad exit coming out of Rivalta. But Ollie letting them through towards Tamburello, and that's also the Mustang. That's Richard Little making it looking at the inside of Imola as well.
All these cars racing each other. The situation for sixth place has resolved itself. Raphael Huell has also got by Ted Edwards for fourth, so Ted down to fifth. Raphael up into the fourth place position on the final lap of the race now, coming down into Acqua Minerale for the final time on this race weekend. Just like to take this time to thank all of you for joining us here today. We hope you've enjoyed the cast banter between Austin and myself. You can tell we're very comfortable in each other's presence. We tend to joke a little bit more than some others may do, but just know that it's all love and all banter between Austin and myself. We're used to working together, and that comfortability leads to some funny jokes. I will maintain I am wearing pants in the booth. Badowski looking to get P2 back. He's going to come just a little bit shy of that goal. Well raced by Dauber to take the fastest lap. That's bonus points as well. But it's a double win for Luca Falasca. We know he's going to keep that one, but will he get to keep it here? It's neither makes no difference. It's another win for Falasca in the 32.
That's a double Mustang win yet again, same as last week. Dauber coming in P2, Badowski coming in P3, Raphael Huell P4, Ted Edwards coming through in P5 as well, and Grimlund will take P6. Again, a lot of these, same with Falasca, potentially pending stewarding decisions after the fact, but as it stands right now, cars just crossing the line in the order that they were in. Ollie Mulder taking the win in silver class today. Teixeira in P2, and that's Varga in P3 for silver as well. Nicole Fox bringing it back to P4. Given how hard of a hit that was at the start of the race, again, that's commendable, I think, Jesse.
Yeah, 100%. That was, to me, it isn't even the damage on the car, Austin. That would have been demoralizing. I'm the leader of the race, and I get taken out, by somebody else, and it was an accident. It was truly an accident. There was no malice in that whatsoever, but that would be so demoralizing. I've seen cars retire for less, but credit to Nicole keeping going and racing, and in a moment there where it could have been worse. Well, speaking of being worse, race number 1 of round 2 here at Imola, we only really had one car sort of semi-retire. More here. We started with 30 cars. We have actually finished with 24, and I believe only 22 of them are actually going to cross the line. Peter Lundquist, the last car yet to cross the line, and has done to complete the racing today. Well, it was a drama-filled race number 2. We imagined it would be after a calmer race number 1. There might be some protest in the wings, though, for a couple of the moves out there today, Austin.
Yeah, again, definitely the aggression in the second race, the theory of the calm and the crazy, definitely standing up. And I mean, round Imola, that's already a recipe for exactly what we've just seen.
Calm and crazy. That reminds me of a lot of my relationships, Austin. Do you have comment on that?
Oh,
Take a
this
guess on
banter's
which one
great.
of us is the calm one.
I could only imagine, Jesse. I could only
You
imagine.
are you are such a sweetheart for not calling me out right there. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, here are the final results of race number 2. Officially, Falaska over Dauber and Vidalski. We'll bring you the standings next week and inform you of any post-race penalties that may have changed the running order here today. Congratulations for the time being for the podium contenders and all those that stuck it out in a very heavy contact race number 2. Mulder again the winner in the silver class over to Shera and Varga. Fox and Howling make up the top 5 there. Another good run for Jordan Bubbins. I want to credit that. Remember, Jordan Bubbins was once the car that was several laps off the back of the pack, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame. Everybody has to learn, right? And everybody learns at their own rate. But look at this. Jordan Bubbins, from the back of the pack a season or so ago to running in the middle of the silver field. Well done, Jordan.
Yeah, absolutely huge, like huge results, and yeah, it's seeing seeing the community and seeing drivers kind of progress. It's part of one reason why I love being in the box, because you start realizing, you start recognizing these names over time, and you see that progression, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I mean, the stream sees it, we see it, and it's amazing.
110%. Mike Redford in chat as a little bit of the carnage report. First of all, Mariano Rodriguez says, I missed the Ford GT. The Mustang is great, but it isn't the same. Same feels for me, Mr. Rodriguez. I think we can agree. Mike Redford, absolutely frustrated with how it's gone. And says Redford has to say that pushed wide by Grimm, almost pitted, and it was a whole thing. We saw that into turn number 2. And a lot of frustrated race car drivers after race 2. Maybe not so much race 1. We had a couple. Race number 2, absolutely the straw that broke the camel's back today.
That is it, and I'm just kind of looking and seeing what's coming up next. I'm looking through my little list here. Am I right in thinking that we have Mondays, the regular, we've got the Jag versus Aston V12 Championship, which is amazing. Like, I've been following it a little bit myself, actually. I'm not in the box for that, but the racing for that, those two cars are always great to watch, and well, this is no exception. But Jesse, am I right in thinking that we've got a 6-hour series coming up? Is that Sunday, May 28th? And we've also got a 4-hour coming up soon as well.
Yeah, we got a lot of races on the slate, as we always do here. First and foremost, the Summer Friday Champ, the Summer Break Championship, is coming at you in 1 week's time from this Friday. So you still got about a week to sign up. But it is the Gran Turismo 2 Diventa Italiano. It is a Italian track tour in GT2 machinery. I think I'm right in saying it is GT2 cars. And you can pick any GT2 you want. It is a tour of Italy, 3 rounds, Imola, Misano, and Monza. It is an hour and 20-minute races each week. A little bit longer, but a very short season. Still time to sign up for that and make the grid for round number 1. Watkins Glen in iRacing, the next endurance race, the one-off for iRacing. That's on the 25th of May. 2 hours, 40 minutes. I keep trying to say 2.4, but that's not correct. That's not how math works. But it's the Watkins 2 hour and 40-minute race. All the likely suspects, GTPs, LMP2s, and GT cars on offer there if you're into iRacing and have Watkins Glen, or maybe you're looking for a reason to race one of the best tracks in the world. Then there you have it. Do Watkins Glen in iRacing. The Monday Jag versus V12 Championship continues. We'll be live on Monday at Watkins Glen, one of the best tracks in the world. And of course, we'll be right back here with you in 1 week's time, staying in Italy, saving on transport cost. will be just across the country at Monza, the Temple of Speed.
We're still in Italy after, I'm fairly certain, upsetting 99% of our Italian viewership.
No, we redeemed. In my opinion, we redeemed. I said it. I did the thing with my hands. Authentico Italiano, I think is the correct term there. All right.
If we don't make it out of Italy a live chat, it was great seeing you.
We have, and I have the analytics to prove this. We have many Italian fans. One of which is not Peter Varga, who joins us in the box. Podium in that race as well. Mr. Varga, how was it for you out there today in both races? Talk us through your day.
Alright, let's see. Qualifying, alright. I was actually happy for the change from last event with the car, so that was good. I kinda expected a little bit more in qualifying, but it is what it is. So race 1 I took it kinda careful on the first lap, then lost some positions here and there, and slowly regained myself back to the where I started, kind of P5, P6 in a silver class. So that was alright, although I feel like could have maybe done a little bit more, but it was good, it was calm, no big mistakes, I did not hit anyone, so very good. Race 2, well, that was exactly opposite, kind of. I come into turn 1, everything good. I get into turn 2, and everything goes to shit. It's very interesting how you can see the switch from everyone into race 2. Race 1 is like, okay, let's keep it clean, we are calm, it's the first race. Race 2 be like, yup, it got car. So I just chose correct path through the turn 1 melee, only resulting in like 9/10 of damage that would have to be fixed, so I was kind of happy about that. And after that, it was just chasing, I was chasing one silver guy, he kind of vanished, and then I was chasing Teixeira, and it was kind of good chase because we were there and thereabouts on pace. I was able to close down him into turn 1 and through the first sector facing the Mustang. And then the pros just arrived. And can I just express myself to the guys in a pro class? I know we are in silver. I know we are not fighting you, but can you also sympathize with us? We have our own race that we are fighting with someone, for podiums, for wins. Like, if you make a move properly, like you would do on someone else. Don't just send the car there and think that we are gonna vanish like a lap of traffic. We are not a lap of traffic. But we are also there, please.
Frustration coming out there. Austin, do you have anything for Mr. Varga?
I mean, I suppose the only question really I've got is that something we've referenced in the booth is that we seem to have one kind of calm race and one chaotic race in these double race formats. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Yes.
That's a straight answer. I like it.
Well, you see, people are like, okay, let's keep it calm. I don't want to make enemies for race 1, and for race 2, it's free for all, basically. Everyone's like, yeah, okay, it's done. We can do stuff. It's gonna be all right after the end of the week for the next race. It was all right. Sorry to just continue, but did you see some shenanigans with the headlights throughout the race?
I don't think that we did.
Well, I think we noticed it, but we weren't sure exactly what was going on.
Yeah, when Orias dived me to Rivata, he just turned off his headlights.
Very funny indeed. Well,
The initial D-move.
Yeah, deja vu. Varga, is there anybody you want to shout out before you go?
No.
No? Okay.
Wow.
Well, it's another impressive podium in race 2 for Peter Varga. Thanks for coming and talking to us, and good luck next week.
Yes.
From third place on the podium in race 2 to a double winner in the silver class, Ollie Mulder, you either cashed in all of your luck or you're just that good. It all went Ollie Mulder this week.
Oh no, that is it. I'm done. Next week is going to be into the barriers, nothing but barrier. Yeah, it was very tough races because qualified in amongst the pro cars who they're either of a similar pace to me or just slightly faster. So, you know, when I've got second in class bearing down my neck, especially in race 1, I had to be very tactical, very smart with how I let people by, who I let people by. I was trying to avoid fighting at all costs, but also keeping some cars in between me and Nicole so that she couldn't get a run on me. And race 2 was, I want to put it bluntly, it was a clusterfuck.
Well, it was a very interesting race. You were right behind when Nicole had their incident. You were almost involved in that had you been a meter or two in front of where you actually were, but you were able to just be out of range of the incident, and you did the same thing you did in race 1. You took the lead and you continued to build the gap. Jokes aside, I know you said that you thought you've used up all your luck, but right now you're looking pretty good. You've kept pace with Nicole Fox in round number 1, and now round number 2, you have taken the championship points lead away from Fox after that brilliant result today. Realistically, we're going to places like Monza, Indianapolis, Donington, and Valencia. Do you fancy your chances at a silver championship?
I think it's a bit early to say, really. Monza is despite the fact that it's basically just, you know, 5 straight lines and a few corners, it's a very weak track for me. Although the Aston is very quick in a straight line, so we'll see what happens. Indy, Donington, those are 2 solid tracks. I usually do quite well there. But just to go back to race 2, somebody said to me after the race that I was like Moses, passing
Yes! Good reference.
That's great.
I thought it was quite appropriate. I mean, I saw who was in the green Aston.
It's Ben Reese.
Yeah, I saw him getting a bit squirrely going onto the straight into the braking zone. I thought, I'm gonna, you know, back off here because I saw the whole side by side of him, and just my luck, he loses control, takes her out. And I'll take that, thanks.
Austin, do you have anything for our double winner in silver?
I mean, I think that's just covered everything I was going to ask. Actually, the big thing being that, you know, that not less of a, you can't really mince it. It's a huge incident. But yeah, no. Other than that, just congratulations, double win. Never easy to do. And yeah, first race calculated, held Nicole off, and second race capitalized on what you needed to. So congratulations.
Yeah, I did have a bit of a big scare. I think it was 5 minutes ago, and I lost it at T1 and barely kept it together. And then obviously I was stuck behind all of the pro drivers, and then everybody in front of me decided they wanted to have a melee, so I nearly crashed into Redford whilst he was sideways. I don't know what was going on in that second race. It was just, you know, everybody decided it was time for the slaughter.
It definitely felt like that. Ollie, anybody you want to shout out?
Yeah, once again, the guys at Prime Motorsport, they're always very encouraging. I know they've been watching me race tonight, so yeah, it's good support.
Shout out to them. Double winner here at the Imola round. Ollie Mulder gets it done, flag to flag. Congrats.
Thanks.
Well, Ollie's going to be a force to reckon with, I believe. It's going to come down to a couple of drivers in that category. It's still quite close. Ollie currently holds a 2-point championship lead in the silver class. And we do have the answer, Austin, to a question we asked at the very beginning of today's broadcast, and that is there drop rounds? There absolutely are drop rounds. You get an drop round in the season, and because of that, Jordan Daly is still your championship leader. He got just about nigh on maximum points for round number 1. So even with Luca Velasquez's performance today, Daly still, via the drop round, has the championship lead. It's Daly, Velasquez, and Dauber in pro. It is Mulder, Fox, Teixeira, the top 3 in silver. But I agree with what Ollie said right there. Way too early to call.
Yeah, I mean, there's 6 drivers, you know, that could take their respective championships. Second round in, third round exit, going over to Monza. Another track that's notorious for potential race restarts, shall we say. It's going to be interesting.
I've heard something about Monza T1. I might, you know, I might check that out myself.
Yeah, no, I've heard people talk about it, but I'm not entirely certain what they're on about. But yeah, no, Jesse, do you have any final thoughts on this race?
I agree with the drivers. I think the driver's assessment, as usual, is spot on. Race 1 was pretty calm and collected, and everybody collectively lost their minds for race 2. It made for great television for us here in the box. One of the days where I'm glad I was up here in the box and not down there on the racetrack. Usually it's the other way around, but today was certainly one of those. Some people shined in that situation. Others got passed around like a product at a Doobie Brothers concert. But that is the nature of racing. It ebbs and flows. Some days it's your day. Some day it isn't. One thing's for sure, it was not Nicole Fox's day. And unfortunately for them, Ollie Mulder was there with a fast race car and a great strategy today, and ended up putting the car in the right place at the right time. All in all, a very entertaining championship thus far. Nothing decided. Nothing else you could ask for.
That's just it. We had a little bit of everything today, and it's all the more reason to stay tuned next week. And as we say, keep an eye on Mondays for that Jag V12 Championship as well. And even better, why not hit the subscribe button and hit the bell to get the notifications for when we do go live? And obviously the likes do go a long way to help us as well. So thank you so much at home for watching. It's been a long night, but we got there in the end, and we'll be back to do it all again here next week, still in Italy. I've been Austin, Jesse's been Jesse, and thank you and good night.